as all this is happening on Get Up this morning, this was at 7:49 Central Time because it's timestamped up in the left-hand corner. We can see there's a graphic that comes up that says most Big 12 conference championships. It says Oklahoma 11, Texas 3, Nebraska 2. There is
a lot wrong. What about the fine print underneath?
Yes. So that's one thing. First of all, that's wrong because Oklahoma has 14. And so you're like, well, what's going on there? Then at the bottom, and by the way, love including Nebraska, but you know who else has 2 Big 12 conference championships? Oh yeah, K-State has 2 Big 12 conference championships, but you throw in another team from the league that has left to put in there with the 2. That's some deceptive bleep, ESPN. And then at the bottom, combined to win last 11 conference championships for Oklahoma and Texas, which we know is just outright BS. Oklahoma's won the last 6. TCU and Baylor split in 2014. Baylor won in 2013. Oklahoma and K-State split in 2012. Oklahoma State won in 2011. It's asinine. And what we've been able to ascertain here is that they are going by actual championship games that occurred. So when it was round robin schedule, no championship game, those apparently don't count in this because Oklahoma has 3 that aren't being shown here on this graphic. That's the way that you can tell. But it does not get more deceptive than that. And all of the people that we're talking about here that handle this and treat this very flippantly, nobody's going to bother to check that. Nobody's going to bother to do the research on that. And so you can throw this graphic up and just make it look like, oh, it has been Oklahoma and Texas. And then one of the other schools that left, like, you know, these guys really are the little 8. Like, no wonder they're the irate 8. Nobody can do anything there. And it's complete BS. It's not true. And it's just some deceptive framing from ESPN. I can't stand it. That is so bad. So bad.
Yep. It's really bad. It's as bad as the political networks, right? Like that's the kind of stuff that you would expect for, you know, a political network that leans to the left or a political network that leans to the right. Like both of those do it. You expect that from a news station, whether it be CNN, Fox News, stuff like that. Like that stuff happens all the time. That is mundane in that industry. Like in sports, like what are we doing here? Like that's what I'm saying. What are we doing here? Are we really trying to put out propaganda on a sports network? Because that's what that is. That is clear deception. And honestly, it's a bad look on media in general. Like it's funny to me because some of the people that'll pretend not to see this or pretend like it's not a big deal will be the same people. Like we have a problem in this country, obviously, that it mistrusts or doesn't trust media enough. And that's very, very much the case. But we can't say the problem is the people not trusting these media outlets when these media outlets continue to do this type of behavior. And for all media should be like, you know, appalled by that. Should be like saying that this type of behavior should be outlawed, because if you condone this, it's just as bad. It's terrible because it just leans more into, I know this is I'm taking this a different angle than you probably envision, but this just feeds the idea that the media can't be trusted.
No, I'm not going to disagree with you on that. I'm not going to disagree with you on that at all. I think it is when you said this is like a Fox News, MSNBC, like that kind of, I mean, that's exactly what it is. And, you know, it's one thing if you're like a team site, you know, I mean, like you run a team site. So there are going to be some things that are going to be geared more toward propping up the product because like that's the business model. And ESPN does have entertainment as the first letter of the word. So like, I understand that. And I listened to Andy Staples on the AP college football podcast talking about this. And it was specifically Manhattan and K-State that was being brought up. And shout out to, I think it's Ralph Russo is the name of the AP writer who was playing devil's advocate and really trying to advocate for a K-State in that scenario. And he basically said, well, look, like in the end, this is the entertainment business. ESPN has to worry about the entertainment value of it. And it's been deemed like the market has decided there's no entertainment value in watching K-State play football. I mean, more or less is what that is right there. And so, yes, that is true. I get that that's in their name, but they also have, you know, people take them as gospel. Like they have built up this reputation. They present themselves as news network, and people will take all of this stuff totally accurately and just assume that Like nothing nefarious is going on behind closed doors. And so like that's the problem here. It's like what the perception is that everybody out there has versus what the reality actually is of what it is that they're doing. And I realize everything I'm describing there is the same issue that we have with the cable networks, right? I mean, it's the exact same thing. Like people take them as news, they're presented as news, but it doesn't change the fact that this is still some really deceptive stuff.
Yeah, and I guess I'll just finish with this. There's a difference between entertaining and deceiving, and they're not the same thing. And I think that's almost the way you kind of described it. Maybe he wasn't trying to be with the Andy Staples and everything, like saying, "Oh, because it's entertainment, like this is okay." No, it's not. Entertaining and deceiving are two different things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, the problem and the bottom line is the same thing that everybody has complained about for uh, years. And the whole time, I mean, I can going back to Bill Snyder when he first started winning and fans felt like K-State wasn't getting enough respect. It's just like, hey, look, like people don't care. Like people on the coast don't care. The TV powers that be don't care. National media doesn't really care. People don't care. And that's why like you're getting such a visceral reaction from everybody around here because nobody cares. Like if you're, I'm supposed to talk to Stuart Mandel later today, and I'm not even, I don't know that I've followed him closely enough to know how much damage he's been doing reputation wise to everything here. But I know he's a guy that lives on the West Coast out in California somewhere. Like, to be honest, like what reason does he have to care about K-State? I mean, if you're somebody that was born and raised in that area, you grew up on the coast, like it's just not going to people in Kansas are just like dots on a map. Nobody pictures the humanity of it, the livelihood of it, like how much we all love this stuff and it matters to us. And so it just people are very easily able to write that off. And like that's just what we're up against here. And nobody is going to care. So like is it the most is it showing proper decorum to be going and tweeting at these guys and telling them that they need to lose their jobs? Like, I mean, probably not, but that's just a representation of like how everybody's feeling right now. And essentially the attitude that all these people nationally have is like, people are going to lose their jobs, whatever. And it's in
Yeah,
Kansas. I'll never have to deal with it. So,
yeah.
fine. We'll fire back.